Good afternoon and welcome to 12 and a half minutes. My name is Andy Campbell and this is your fortnightly hit of hope, information and inspiration brought to you by Elevator, one of Scotland's leading entrepreneurial and business support organisations. In just over a week's time, it's going to be November, and that's quite a scary thought, and it only dawned on me the other day, we're at November already. And when you look back, that's the eighth month that we're going to be entering into since COVID restrictions started in the UK. And as we leave the politicians and the medical professionals to figure out a way forward out of this pandemic, I guess in a very real way, we're all personally challenged. How do we adapt? And how do we simply try and figure out a way to get on with this situation that we find ourselves in? And over the last week through work, I've been speaking to a number of people, and to be quite honest, the sort of sentiment out there and the sort of emotion is that things are wearing a little bit thin. And I guess we're probably all feeling that way right now. And you hear in the reports on television about the long-term effects potentially of COVID, the so-called long COVID that they've talked about. And whilst we can completely understand what long COVID might mean from a health point of view, what does long COVID mean from a community's point of view, from an economy point of view, and from a business point of view? And no other sector, no other industry has perhaps been hit as hard by COVID as the food and drink and hospitality sector. But as always, we have to look towards the silver lining. We have to look at what opportunities can come from this that can be with us in the long term. How are we adapting? How are we evolving our businesses? How are we evolving the mindset that we have to take us forward into the next few years ahead? And therefore, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by chef and restaurateur Craig Wilson, who has been an individual who has been pioneering new techniques and new ways of dealing with business as we go forward. So welcome to the screen, Craig.
Good afternoon. Hi there.
Good afternoon,
how you doing?
Craig. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Keeping busy.
Good. And I know we were having just in the kind of pre-prep for the show, we were having a little couple of gremlins with regards to the sound feedback. So hopefully it's not too problematic as we go through our chat, but it's great to have you join us today, Craig. And I guess some people may know of you, but I'll now hand it over to you to give us a run through for the next 2 or 3 minutes, a little bit about you, your background, who you are and what you do. So over to you now, Craig.
Okay, well, thanks very much. My name's Craig Wilson and tagged as the Kilted Chef. I started Eat on the Green restaurant 16 years ago. It was a dilapidated pub and probably required all the things that we all require now: dogged determination, passion and vision to kind of... we have always believed that consistency is probably one of the most important things, and 16 years later, it's never been more important. We've been lucky to get a lot of awards in the last 16 years, and we've still got them today to kind of encourage us in these dark times. 2 years ago, after a trip to Vietnam promoting Scotland with VisitScotland, to New York, I established the Kilted Chef company, and maybe adding value and promoting my passion for Scotland in the food industry. To give you a snapshot of what this year has been like for me, Mother's Day is a day that I'll always remember in 2020, because we had to immediately go into a takeaway offering and we served hundreds of meals. It was majorly challenging, but very soon after we had to close. We were told to close, and that was probably when your back's against the wall that you really need to think on your feet. What keeps you going? Creativity was the thing that kept me going. along with my passion of probably communication and food combined. And I started a Facebook cookery show called Live at 5. We have done almost 50 shows, and we are looking to launch our next series. In the last 6 weeks, we have launched a new product. It's actually my wife's initiative, a new cafe locally in the East. So crazy time, a lot of people would say, to open a new business, but it's called the Hummingbird Cafe. Our takeaway business continues to be very busy, and as I sit here this weekend, we're going to be feeding over 200 people with a number of options to have a more kind of exciting celebration meal where you add cocktails and wine and all sorts of bits and pieces. So it's to wrap it up, this year has been about change, hold tight and keep changing, and listening and being honest with yourself and your customers, and trying to hold on to the positives that are there.
Yeah. Well, listen, Craig, thank you so much indeed for that overview. It's been great to hear some of the journey, and I guess touching on some of the really challenging things that you've experienced in kind of more recent weeks and months, and how you've adapted. And we'll touch on some of those in a moment. But I guess ultimately, over the journey that you've had, you talked about passion, you talked about drive and determination. These are characteristics that you have in yourself, which I think clearly are something that's been able to power you through the last decade or so in your business.
Yeah, no, I think probably, I mentioned, if you put yourself back in the shoes of when you start something, whether that be your first job, the first time that you start to learn to drive, I don't believe anybody would, the first things that they would say is they feel ultra confident and that they've got it. I think it's about being real, and reminding yourselves that we all have challenges, and some maybe speaking to somebody else that has walked a certain road when you're about to maybe despair. Someone can actually give you encouragement to do something brighter and bigger than you've ever done before.
Yeah, and I think that's clearly evident from people with you. You can see the positivity, you can see the ambition that you've got, even in these challenging times. You're not being a negative or down about it. You're seemingly very upbeat about it, and that has been something that you've poured into your business over the last number of years as you built up your community. Because I think ultimately, whilst the product on the plate is really important to you, your customers are everything to you, are they not?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I've really missed the kind of human contact, and I think the more creative you are with, that you can kind of try and reach out and have conversations in different ways, and you don't need to do very much that can mean an awful lot right now. We sign, there'll be people picking up from the restaurant for a takeaway, but we'll still be saying happy anniversary, a card, giving them a menu that says happy birthday Andy, happy birthday Craig. And this, for someone to take that attention to detail, but this isn't new. So what I would encourage, if I feel it's right to do so, don't any standards have you got, polish your boots a wee bit more and stand true to your values and standards. And if it doesn't feel right now, leave it behind and hold on to the things that do feel right, and you'll soon know if it's right, because your customer, if you're lucky enough to have customers, they're going to say they love something. They're behind you. They want you to still be in their lives.
Yeah, and I mean, COVID has impacted on many businesses, no less the food and drink sector, and the financial impact of that, no doubt, will be there for everyone to see, but the community impact is also there. But it is a time for opportunity, isn't it, Craig? You've mentioned there yourself. It's an opportunity to maybe take a step back from your business and look at the things that are working, some of the things that aren't working.
Yeah, well, quite interesting. I've had a lot of really interesting people and a lot of interesting calls. And I remember one day, just like 3 people that would normally call me, and I thought, well, I've either done something right or wrong. That's the way my mate, and mostly it was complimenting and asking for a bit of support and advice. So I suppose where I'm at now, if I, as a chef, as a restaurateur, as an individual that have only done certain things to keep myself going and keep the business going, I see this very much a time to work with like-minded businesses. So it excites me if I can add value to another business to kind of shine their lights, brighter because of through a different way. So just because you are in one sector, it doesn't mean that you can't work together. And I think people are more open to that now because things are so different.
Now you've taken to, I mean, we've all in our working lives had to carry out more Zoom calls, had to carry out more video calls. Elevator created this very format, 12.5 minutes as a stream and a broadcast, and you've adapted to that technology yourself quite well, haven't you?
Well, I always need somebody to make sure that everything is working. Then I'm okay. Yeah, I've been cooking. As I said, the live show. We've been cooking with VisitScotland, we actually, one of the things that was very popular at Eat on the Green was a ladies' day. So we actually recorded that. So we launched a virtual ladies' day, so we just do a video and they pick up the takeaway, and I dare say after 2 cocktails they think it's actually quite good.
I'm sure it's absolutely fantastic. And you celebrate all the great Scottish produce that we do. You've got a real focus on supporting local producers and using their ingredients into the dishes that you make. Is that correct, Craig? And why is that so important to you?
I think it's hugely important. I think that is part of this whole, and I will use the word, it is pretty negative, all this. So you kind of start thinking about your life, you start thinking about where you come from, what does Scotland feel like, and think about all the great things in food is a massive part of keeping us going right now. And whether it's through humour, through some of the great Scottish comedies and all the rest of it, I like to think that food has got an opportunity to not to kind of, we've got this habit of talking ourselves down, even in food terms, to do with Scottishness. But in actual fact, what I've learned is the further away you go from home, actually, we have got some of the best things in our larder in the world. And I think maybe people have a time to connect in their own kitchen, is to very much use some of Scotland's brightest ingredients on our doorsteps. And we've got things like St Andrew's Day, and we've got Burns and all these kind of things, Hogmanay. And I think we should very much tap into traditional and what made you feel safe as a child and good memories. So
and clearly the restaurant is very well established. The new program that you deliver, the new show that you deliver, is getting very well established itself. You're tapping into that Scottishness with the Kilted Chef approach, and I'm sure internationally that will do really well. the opportunity to open a cafe at this particular time. Yes, it's a brave step, but fortune favours the bold, of course. So these are really exciting things that we that you've clearly embarked on in this rather challenging time. I think that's a real inspiration for people, Craig, to see that you are facing this challenge head on. You're coming up with new concepts and ideas that you're delivering, and that's great. What about over the horizon? And where do you see perhaps the sector going more generally over the next sort of year? And what are some of the big challenges? And I guess ultimately, how can we all support the sector and do more to ensure its success?
Well, I think the biggest challenge was the profitability of the hospitality industry before this. You know, things like business rates and the VAT percentage, it wasn't great. And in my opinion, it dampened creativity. If you've got people, chefs, able to kind of sleep at night because they're worrying about the next VAT bill, or, you know, that's not going to bring out the best. And that's not going to, you know, we want people to come to Scotland to be amazed at the charisma, the flavors, and our Scottishness itself. And I think if we can really, for the very first time in my cooking time, which is over 30 years, that we can actually let the hospitality breathe, respect our skill and creativity. You know, most people will say, oh, hospitality industry, you have to be up late and all that, highlight the negatives, but actually what you need to do is actually grow how important it is to be able to go out with friends or family in the future, to have a memory that will last a lifetime. That is worth paying for, and for the industry to be a bit more kind of balanced, so it doesn't always feel it's chasing its tail.
No, that's you know, a positive note to finish on, Craig. 12.5 minutes is over in the blink of an eye. I'll not try and compare it to any cooking terms or period of time that you would use there, but 12.5 minutes does go very quickly, Craig. And I think all admiration to yourself, someone that's clearly stepped up to the challenge, who's rising up through these difficult times and moving forward with such a positive and inspiring message for the entire sector. So I think we can all take a leaf out your book in terms of your positivity, Craig. Thank you for joining us on 12.5 minutes, and would like to wish you and your entire team there all the very best of fortune as you go forward over the next few critical weeks and months, and we'll hopefully see you soon, Craig.
Thanks very much, Andy. You have a great weekend.
Thanks. Bye now. Bye-bye. Well, that was Craig Wilson giving us a very positive outlook, and clearly, you know, the food and drink sector has had its challenges, but there you can see firsthand someone that is working very hard, filling and fueling their passion, and pivoting in this challenging time, coming up with new concepts and new ideas, and I guess showing everyone and leading the way in how things should be done. So I'm sure we all wish Craig the very best as he goes forward. Thank you to everyone that's decided to join us today for 12.5 minutes. As always, you can follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you like and subscribe, and great to see some social media comments coming in there as well from those that are watching. So thank you so much indeed. It does mean an awful lot to us. So that's the end of this week's programme. As you know by now, we are every fortnight, and our next programme will be on Friday, the 6th of November. And I'll be joined by award-winning author, and this was on her debut book that she had put together. Award-winning author Deborah Masson will be joining us. So looking forward to chatting to Deborah about how she got into writing and the inspiration behind her book that she has just recently launched. So looking forward to speaking to Deborah then. But in the meantime, have a wonderful weekend and be brave.